Appalachia, Episode 2, Dolly Parton. Hey y'all, I'm Heather, and this is not Poison Appalachia, it's Wholesome Appalachia. Once a month, we'll take a walk on the brighter side of Appalachia, because there's a lot of good things in Appalachia. I'm just more drawn to the darker side of things. But the third Friday of every month, we'll have a bonus Wholesome Appalachia episode. Today's episode is about my favorite person in the whole wide world, Our Lady of Appalachia, Dolly Parton. We're best friends. She just doesn't know it yet. I can't imagine anyone doesn't know who Dolly Parton is, but just in case you somehow missed her over the years or need a refresher, Dolly Parton is a philanthropist, country music artist, entrepreneur, and so much more. Dolly Rebecca Parton was born on January 19, 1946, in a one-room cabin on the banks of the Little Pigeon River in Pittman Center, Tennessee. She shares a birthday with one of my favorite authors, Edgar Allan Poe. Side note here, January 19th is on the cusp of the Capricorn and Aquarius. I was born on September 23rd, which is the cusp of Virgo and Libra, so maybe that's the reason I identify with her. I mean, any excuse, right? She's the fourth of 12 children born to Avie Lee Caroline and Robert Lee Parton Sr. Parton's middle name comes from her maternal great-great-grandmother, Rebecca Whitted. Parton's father, known as Lee, worked in the mountains of East Tennessee, first as a sharecropper and later tending his own small tobacco farm and acreage. He also worked construction jobs to supplement the farm's small income. Despite her father's illiteracy, Parton has often commented that he was one of the smartest people she'd ever known with regards to business and making a profit. Dolly Parton attributes her musical abilities to the influence of her mother. Often in poor health, she still managed to keep house and entertain her children with Smoky Mountain folklore and ancient ballads. Having Welsh ancestors, Avie Lee knew many old ballads that immigrants from the British Isles brought into southern Appalachia in the 18th and 19th century. Dolly's maternal grandfather, Jake Owens, was a Pentecostal preacher, and Parton and her siblings all attended church regularly. Parton has long credited her father for her business savvy and her mother's family for her musical abilities. When Parton was a young girl, her family moved from Pittman Center area to a farm up on nearby Locust Ridge. She spent most of her childhood here in a small cabin. Today, a replica of the cabin can be visited at Parton's namesake theme park, Dollywood. Hey, this is actually a place I've been to. Dollywood and the cabin. The Smoky Mountains are my favorite place to go, my favorite part of Appalachia, and I would just love to live there. I love the mountains and everything. It's so beautiful. But let's get back to Dolly. The farm acreage and surrounding woodland inspired her to write the song My Tennessee Mountain Home in the 1970s. Years after the farm was sold, Parton bought it back in the late 1980s. Her brother Bobby helped the building restoration and new construction. Wikipedia says, Parton has described her family as being dirt poor. Parton's father paid missionary Dr. Robert F. Thomas with a sack of cornmeal for delivering her. Parton would write a song about Dr. Thomas when she was grown. She also outlined her family's poverty in her early songs Coat of Many Colors, which is one of my favorites, and In the Good Old Days and Times Were Bad. For 6 or 7 years, Parton and her family lived in their rustic one-bedroom cabin on their small subsistence farm on Locust Ridge. This was predominantly Pentecostal area, located north of the Greenbrier Valley of the Great Smoky Mountains. Music played an important role in her early life. She was brought up in the Church of God, in a congregation her grandfather Jake Robert Owens pastored. Her earliest public performances were in the church, beginning at age 6. It wasn't easy for Dolly in grade school. Her classmates bullied her because she was poor, and also her classmates became jealous after she sang on local TV and they locked her in a coat closet. At age 7, she started playing a homemade guitar, and at the age of 8, her uncle bought her a real guitar. And after that, she started writing her own music. She sang and played the guitar on local radio and television in the East Tennessee area, but from the age of 10. By 10, she was appearing on the Cass Walker Show in both WIVK Radio and WBIR TV in Knoxville, Tennessee, where she earned $20 a week. At 13, she was recording the single Puppy Love on a small Louisiana label, Gold Band Records. Also, when Dolly was only 13, she performed her first time at the Grand Ole Opry, a famous weekly radio broadcast for country music. It was there that she first met Johnny Cash, and he told her to follow her own instincts regarding her career. After graduating from high school in 1964, Dolly moved to Nashville the country music capital of the United States, probably the world, I don't know. The very next day to start a career as a musician, Dolly was the first high school graduate in her family. Dolly modeled her appearance after a local woman. The way I look and the way I looked then was my country girl's idea of glam. People wanted me to change. They thought I looked cheap, but I patterned my look after the town tramp, Parton explained. Everybody said she's trash, and in my little girl mind, I thought, well, that's what I'm going to be when I grow up, the singer continued. It was really like a look I was after. It wasn't a natural beauty. I wasn't a natural beauty. On her first day in Nashville, Dolly met Carl Dean. It was love at first sight for Dolly. They quickly grew close, but after a few months of dating, Carl joined the Army. They agreed to get married when he returned. While Carl was away, Dolly focused on her music career. When they married on May 30th, 1966, she made it clear that she would not become a housewife and would continue her music career. Although Parton does not use Dean's surname professionally, she has stated that her passport reads Dolly Parton Dean, and she sometimes uses Dean when signing contracts. Dean, who is retired from running an asphalt road paving business in Nashville, has always shunned publicity and rarely accompanies his wife to any events. Parton has jokingly said that he has only seen her perform once. She also has said in interviews that even though it appears they spend a little time together, it is simply that nobody sees him publicly. She has commented on Dean's romantic side, saying he does spontaneous things to surprise her and sometimes even writes poems for her. In 2011, Parton said, We're really very proud of our marriage. It's the first for both of us and the last. While Parton has never had children, she and Dean helped raise several of her younger siblings in Nashville, leading her nieces and nephews to refer to them as Uncle Peepaw and Aunt Granny, the latter a moniker that later lent its name to one of Parton's Dollywood restaurants. Parton is also the godmother of singer-songwriter and actress Miley Cyrus. Earlier this year, Dolly said in a press release, I cannot believe that it's been 60 years this month since I graduated from Sevier County High School and moved to Nashville to pursue my dreams. My uncle Bill Owens was by my side for many years, helping me develop my music. I owe so much to him and all the family members, past and present, who have inspired me along this journey. I'm honored to spotlight our family's musical legacy that is my Smoky Mountain DNA. One of Dolly's biggest influences and supporters was her Uncle Bill Owens. While Parton was still in high school, they began writing songs together and landed a songwriting contract while also performing together at clubs in East Tennessee. Parton said he saw early on that I was serious about my singing. A little bit about Bill Owens. He and Parton signed songwriting contracts with Combine Music, and while they wrote Put It Off Until Tomorrow, which became a number 6 hit on the Billboard country chart for Bill Phillips in April 1966. While still signed with Combine, Owens and Parton wrote a second hit for Phillips, The Company You Keep, which peaked at the number 8 spot on the Billboard country charts later that year. In 1967, they scored another success when Skeeter Davis reached number 11 on the Billboard country charts with Fuel to the Flame. All three of these songs would be recorded by Parton for her debut album, Hello, I'm Dolly, along with 4 others written or co-written by Owens. Bill Owens died on April 7, 2021 at the age of 85. Dolly Parton paid tribute to her uncle with a touching eulogy, saying of her Uncle Bill, I wouldn't be here if he hadn't been there. Dolly wrote a ton of songs and had success with that, but no one wanted to give her a chance to make it as a singer because of her soprano voice. They thought it sounded mousy and cartoonish. She didn't think she would make it in country music genre, as this didn't fit what was out at the time. However, after her composition, Put It Off Until Tomorrow, as recorded by Bill Phillips with Parton uncredited on harmony, went to number 6 on the country chart in 1966, the label relented and allowed her to record country. Her first country single, Dumb Blonde, composed by Curly Putman, one of the few songs during her era that she recorded that she didn't write. It reached number 24 on the country chart in 1967. Right around that time, Porter Wagoner, who had a huge hit with the syndicated television program The Porter Wagoner Show, airing from 1960 to 1981, was in need of a female singer after Norma Jean quit, and it was a huge hit at its peak. His show was featured in over 100 markets, with an average viewership of over 3 million. As Norma Jean, his original singer, was beloved by Porter's fans, on television she projected a wholesome image, contrary to her singing hurting and cheating songs relevant to her personal life, which included an affair with Wagner. Yeah, she was a little spicier than her image, but the fans loved her. Norma Jean left Wagner's show in 1967 after marrying Jody Taylor, whom she later divorced, and she was replaced by Dolly Parton. Soon after Porter Wagner heard Dolly perform her song Dumb Blonde on television, he invited her to his office. Though Parton thought Wagner would ask her to write songs for Wagner's co-star, Norma Jean Beasley, he had something different in mind. Beasley was leaving the program to get married, and Wagner wanted Parton to take her place. Porter fans did not like Dolly at all, and she had a really hard time replacing Norma Jean because she was so loved by everybody. Wagner's request was life-changing, and Parton said she didn't have time to consider it for long. She made her debut on the show in September 1967, soon after the release of her debut album, Hello, I'm Dolly. Whereas Norma Jean's voice was warm and low, and she dressed conservatively, Parton had a sparkling vibrato and much louder appearance. Fans of the Norma Jean were not impressed. Porter debuted Dolly in a concert. The concert was advertised in advance of Norma Jean's exit from the show, so fans expected to see her on stage with Wagner. And when it was Parton instead, they began to boo and chant, "We want Norma Jean." Eventually, Wagner had to address the crowd directly. "Give this girl a chance," Porter said. "For crying out loud, this isn't the end of the world. This is a new person. She's trying to make a place for herself." Dolly said that the first few shows were torture that often reduced her to tears. She eventually won the audience over with her talent and moxie. Not only did Wagner put Parton on the show, but he got her signed to his label, RCA Victor. Their first single together was a rendition of Tom Paxton's Last Thing on My Mind. It was released in 1967 and was a top 10 country hit in early 1968. It was the first of many hits as a duet pair for Wagner and Parton. After joining the Porter Wagner show, Dolly Parton's solo stuff at the time wasn't earning nearly the same attention. For years, in fact, her songs barely made traction, including her song In the Good Old Days When Times Were Bad, which has since become a country standard. But Dolly and Porter had a bunch of hits together. Porter and Wagner were doing great, even winning Vocal Group of the Year at the CMAs in 1968. By 1970, both Parton and Wagner had grown frustrated by her lack of solo chart success. Wagner persuaded Parton to record Jimmie Rodgers' Mule Skinner Blues it was a gimmick that worked. It was a song that showcased Parton's sense of humor, drama, and powerful voice, including her skill for yodeling. She ended up hitting number 3 on the country chart with it. Okay, I hate to admit this, but I don't really like that song. I like pretty much every other Dolly song in the world, but not a big fan of Mule Skinner Blues. But her work with Wagner also helped Parton land a contract with RCA Records. After having had several charting singles, Parton scored her first number 1 country hit in 1971 with Joshua, a bluegrass-inspired track about two solitary figures who find love. More number 1 hits followed, including Jolene, a haunting 1973 single in which a woman begs another beautiful woman, not to take her man. I remember listening to this interview with Dolly once, and she said that after every show that Porter would have them sign autographs, and he'd have them sign as long as there were fans there, so it could be for hours. And she met this little girl named Jolene, and she just kept that name in her head and used it in the song Jolene. So that's my little random Dolly trivia there for you. Parton and Wagner had a tumultuous relationship, but they were highly successful in the world of country music. She spent 7 years as the co-star of the Porter Wagner show. Despite their success, Parton wanted to forge her own path with a solo career. Wagner didn't want her to leave. It was around that time of Jolene in 1974 when Parton was ready to go out on her own and split from her mentor Wagner. To convince him, Parton wrote I Will Always Love You as a form of goodbye and played it for Wagner. "That's the prettiest song I ever heard," Porter Wagner told her through tears. "You can go, providing I get to produce the record." So another piece of Dolly trivia I have. I have a bunch of it. Dolly Parton wrote Jolene and I Will Always Love You on the same day. Can you imagine that? 2 of the most amazing songs ever written on the exact same day. It's just crazy to me. So the duo's last duet concert was in April of 1974. A few months later, Parton was no longer on the show. They ended their professional relationship, and Parton went on to become one of the most successful country artists of all time. After their split between 1974 and 1980, Dolly had a series of country hits, with 8 singles reaching number 1. Her influence on pop culture is reflected by many performers covering her songs, including mainstream and crossover artists such as Olivia Newton-John, Emmylou Harris, and Linda Ronstadt. In 1977, Parton had her first crossover smash with the bouncy, bittersweet ode to a returning lover, Here You Come Again. The song reached the top of the country charts, as well as number 3 on the on the pop charts, and also marked the singer-songwriter's first Grammy Award for Best Female Country Vocal Performance. Dolly made her Hollywood debut in 1980, starring in the movie 9 to 5. It's a comedy about 3 working women who dream about revenge on their awful boss. It's a powerful movie about women fighting sexual harassment at work and has a feminist message. In addition to acting in this movie, Dolly also wrote music for the soundtrack. The title song reached on the top of both the pop and country charts, and she was nominated for an Academy Award for it. Her next movie was The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, released in 1982. Dolly received a Golden Globe nomination for Best Actress, and one of my favorite Christmas songs is in it, and that's Hard Candy Christmas, so I love that song. In the 80s and 90s, and even up till now, she had a lot of success with films. In 1984, Parton starred in the musical comedy Rhinestone as a country singer who tries to turn an obnoxious New York City cab driver, played by Sylvester Stallone, into a successful country singer. I've never seen this movie or heard of it, to be honest. Also, she was in Steel Magnolias. Such a good movie, but so sad. And there's a great cast in that. It's such a good movie. She was in Straight Talk, which is actually one of my favorite Dolly movies. It's got James Wood in it, but I don't know. I really like it. She was also in Unlikely Angel, Frank McCluskey's CI, and Joyful Noise. She has hosted her own variety TV show both in 1976 and 1987 through 88. Also, Dolly Parton's Coat of Many Colors, a television movie biopic about the singer's childhood, aired in 2015. I liked that one. I thought it was really good, so if you haven't seen it, you should check it out. Dolly, of course, kept singing through all the years. She was voted the Country Music Association's Female Vocalist of the Year in 1975 and 76. Additionally, 1973 yielded what had become to regard as some of her most nearly perfect album, My Tennessee Mountain Home. A bittersweet look back at the life and tradition she is determined to leave behind. The album's cover is a picture of a cabin in which she grew up in Sevierville. The songs, especially the title cut, are matter-of-fact tributes to people in a way of life that are vanishing. I wanted to be free. I had my songs to sing, I had ambition, and it burned inside me. It was something I knew would take me out of the mountains. I knew I could see worlds beyond the Smoky Mountains, Parton told Rolling Stone in 1977. The theme song to the 1980 movie 9 to 5, in which she starred along with Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin, not only reached number 1 on the country chart, in February 1981, it reached number 1 on the pop and the adult contemporary charts, giving her a triple number 1 hit. Parton became one of the few female country singers to have a number 1 single on the country and pop charts simultaneously. It also received a nomination for Academy Award for Best Song. I mean, what could beat that? I don't know. I need to look that up. I'm sure it wasn't as good as 9 to 5. Her fingernails were credited in the song as as one of the credits, so I thought that was funny. Her singles continue to appear consistently in the top 10. Between 1981 and 1985, she had 12 top 10 hits. Half of them hit number 1. In the 80s, she had several hits with Kenny Rogers, including Islands in a Stream, which I have to admit, I'm not a big fan of that song. It's probably my second least favorite Dolly song. She also joined with Linda Ronstadt and Emmylou Harris in the late 80s for the Trio album. And then in the 90s, she joined with Loretta Lynn and Tammy Wynette on the Honky Tonk Angels album. Parton, Harris, and Ronstadt joined forces again for Trio 2 in 1999, and the supergroup's rendition of Neil Young's After the Gold Rush won a Grammy for Best Country Collaboration with Vocals. And it's really pretty, really haunting sounding. It's one of my favorite songs. Of course, every song's one of my favorite songs by Dolly, but anyways. Their version of the song gives me goosebumps. That year, also Parton coming full circle to the music she grew up hearing. She released her first bluegrass album for Sugar Hill, The Grass is Blue. It was named Album of the Year by the International Bluegrass Music Association and won a Grammy for Best Album. In 1999, Dolly Parton was inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame, and in 2004 was awarded the Living Legends Medal by the Library of Congress. The following year, she was honored with the National Medal of Arts. She received her second star on Hollywood Walk of Fame in 2018, the first having been placed in 1984. I don't understand how the stars work and how you get 2, but if anybody deserves 2, I'm sure Dolly does. Parton owned her own record label, Dolly Records, in 2007. 2 years later, the 9 to 5 musical debuted on Broadway. Parton wrote the productions, music, and lyrics, and was nominated for Best Original Tony Score or Original Score Tony Award for her work. In 2004, the Library of Congress presented Parton with the Living Legend Award for her contributions to the United States cultural landscape. In 2005, she received the National Medal of Arts, the highest award given by artists by the U.S. government. A year later, she received the prestigious Kennedy Center honors. Parton joined the Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame in 1986 and the Songwriters Hall of Fame in 2001. The Recording Academy honored her with a Lifetime Achievement Award in 2011. She's also won 13 Academy Country Music Awards, 10 Grammys, and 9 Country Music Association Awards as of April 2022. And in 2022, she was inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Over her 50-plus years in the industry, she has had 25 songs reach number 1 on the Billboard Country Music Charts, a record for female artists that she shares with Reba McEntire. 41 top country albums, a record for any artist, and has had 110 charted singles. Dolly is also an astute businesswoman. With Dolly's great success has come great wealth. Forbes estimates her back catalog to be worth about $150 million, and she brings in $6 million to $8 million a year. I look like a woman, but I think like a man, Dolly once said. I've done business with men who think I'm as silly as I look. By the time they realize I'm not, I've got the money and gone. I held on to the rights of her songs. She refused to let Elvis record I Will Always Love You when Colonel Tom Parker demanded 50%, which is, I guess, Elvis's standard term. So she just said no. When Whitney Houston recorded it, I made enough money to buy Graceland, she told Forbes. She didn't buy Graceland, investing instead in a black community project in Nashville. In 1986, she started investing in amusement park, partnering with Hershen Family Entertainment to develop the Tennessee Park into Dollywood. As well as being a candy business deal, it was also a massive direct investment into her hometown. Dollywood is Tennessee's most visited tourist attraction, bringing in 3 million visitors per year. The Dollywood Company, which also includes Dollywood Theme Park, Splash Country Water Park, and dinner theaters. The theme park is considered her largest asset. She also owns Dolly Parton, which is a pet apparel business. I've never heard of that, but I'm going to check it out now. She also has her own fragrance brand, has a series of baking kits with Duncan Hines. She has grocery store-wide food line with ConAgra brands, including Dolly Parton buttermilk pancakes. And Dolly Parton owns her entire song catalog, which Forbes estimates worth about $150 million in 2021. So she's very busy and very wealthy. Quite a lot of accomplishments. She's an amazing person, and all that alone would make her a wholesome Appalachian. But Dolly's so much more. She gives back, and not a lot of celebrities do that. And usually she gives back without wanting it known, but, you know, when you're famous, everybody knows. But she runs the Dollywood Foundation, which is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that brings education and poverty relief to East Tennessee. The Dollywood Foundation was created in 1988 by Dolly Parton to inspire children in her home county to achieve educational success. Initial efforts focused on decreasing the dropout rate in the county's high school. In the early 90s, Dolly promised every 7th and 8th grade student she would personally give them $500 if they graduated from high school. This effort, called the Buddy Program, reduced the dropout rate for those two classes from 35% to 6%. More importantly, the program catalyzed the community to provide additional resources to sustain this improvement in the dropout rate. The foundation also has 5 scholarships for the county's high school seniors to help further their education at any accredited university. The Dolly Parton Scholarship is $15,000 awarded annually at each high school. The scholarships are for students who have a dream they wish to pursue and who can successfully communicate their plan and commitments and realize their dreams. The foundation also administers several additional scholarships. In 2016, Dolly provided a $30,000 scholarship to a young girl in Arkansas to recognize the Imagination Library's achievement of distributing books to 1 million children each month. Once she reaches 18 years of age in 2032, the scholarship will be $60,000. On November 28, 2016, massive fires swept through the county, destroying the homes of over 1,000 families in Sevier County. Dolly asked the foundation to lead the effort to distribute $1,000 per month for 6 months to the families who lost their primary residence. In 2 weeks, the foundation created the My People Fund, designed the distribution process, and implemented the distribution. In May of 2017, the foundation concluded the distribution with the announcement that over $12 million had been raised and given to families who lost their homes. Additional funds raised also provide one-time scholarships to high school seniors whose homes were lost to the fires. This is one of my favorite Dolly charity things. It's Imagination Library, a charity that sends one book a month to children from birth until their 5th birthday. Dolly Parton's Imagination Library, which is part of the Dollywood Foundation, was founded in honor of her father, who'd never learned to read or write. It mails one book per month to each enrolled child from the time of their birth until they are kindergarten. Currently, over 1,600 local communities provide the Imagination Library to almost 850,000 children each month across the U.S., and in Canada, the UK, Australia, and the Republic of Ireland. In February 2018, she donated her 100 millionth free book, a copy of Parton's children's book, Coat of Many Colors, to the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C. And she was honored by the Library of Congress on account of the charity sending out its 100 millionth book. In December 2006, Dolly pledged $500,000 towards a proposed $90 million hospital and cancer center to be constructed in Sevierville in the name of Robert F. Thomas, the physician who delivered her. She announced a benefit concert to raise additional funds for the project. In 2003, her efforts to preserve the bald eagle through the American Eagle Foundation's Sanctuary at Dollywood earned her the Partnership Award from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. Parton received the Woodrow Wilson Award for Public Service from the Woodrow Wilson International Center for Scholars of the Smithsonian Institute at a ceremony in Nashville on November 8, 2007. Side note, I've seen the Eagle Sanctuary at Dollywood, and it's pretty cool. It's kind of a neat thing. Though often politically neutral, Parton is also known for her long history of openly supporting LGBTQ rights. I don't know why I can't say that. I usually can. I think it's because it's written out. Like, if I just think LGBTQ, I can say it. But if I gotta look at it, I can't. But she supports in magazines LGBTQ Nation and The Advocate, and has described her as an LGBTQ icon. And it was noted that she first publicly supported their families in a 1991 song, Family. She also publicly came out in support of same-sex marriage in 2009. In response to the COVID-19 pandemic, Parton donated $1 million towards research at Vanderbilt University Medical Center, and encouraged those who can afford it to make similar donations. She said, "I'm a very proud girl today to know that I had anything at all to do with something that's going to help us through this crazy pandemic." Her donation funded the critical early stages of development of the Moderna vaccine. In March 2021, Parton was vaccinated against COVID-19 at Vanderbilt University. She labeled social media accounts of the occasion, "Dolly gets a dose of her own medicine." Parton strongly encouraged everyone to get vaccinated when eligible and performed a song celebrating her vaccination set to the tune of Jolene. And the Tennessee theme park, Dollywood, is participating in a free college for employees program that pays 100% of tuition at partner colleges, which I think is amazing. I mean, can you imagine working somewhere and you get 100% of your school paid? Parton says that she's a committed Christian, which has influenced many of her musical releases. She talked about her liberal approach to faith in the January 2024 issue of New Humanist magazine. "I wouldn't even say I'm religious, though. I grew up with the background, but I have a lot of faith, and I've been so blessed to have been around great people my whole life. My Uncle Bill and my family being supportive, and all the people I met along the way." Dolly said, "I want my legacy to be about everything that I've tried to do, that I did it fairly well. I love the fact that I left the Smokies to be a singer and a writer. I love the fact that I not only get to do that, but I also get to be in the movies and produce movies, and to be a businesswoman. I love the fact that I have the Imagination Library, the literacy program where I gave books to children from the time they're born till they start school. And I love that I get to do so many things, and that I've just loved doing it all. That's what a true success is, when you can be happy with what you've accomplished." Someone once said to me, "Well, what do you want people to say about you 100 years from now?" I say, I want them to say, "Dang, don't she look good for her age?" So, that's about it about Dolly. if there are angels on earth, I think Dolly is one. And yes, this is set through a fan's eyes. So my adoration definitely gives me a biased opinion of her, I'm sure. But I don't think anyone will disagree that she hasn't made the world a little better place. And that's all we can hope for, to make it a little better than it was before you got here. So that's my Wholesome Appalachia episode for this month. I hope you enjoyed it. My first 2 episodes were on women. Maybe I should do the next one on a man. I guess we'll have to wait and see. As always, you can follow me on socials under Poison Appalachia. I have a website, poisonappalachia.com, which I am working on. And if you want to contact me either through email or Facebook are probably your best bets. My email is poisonappalachia@gmail.com. Thanks and have a great day. Bye.